During the average weekday rush hour, the Mass Pike swells to 65,000 cars. From the north into the city, Route 93 sees 85,000 cars a day. And from the south, 111,000. And from all directions, the MBTA buses, trolleys, and trains transport 1.2 million riders a day. That's not even counting the average 41,000 passengers who fly into Logan Airport on a given weekday. It's a total of more than 1.5 million people and cars flooding into Boston on an average workday. And the mayor is running that city. So even if you can't vote, you're impacted.
You certainly are, and I'm joined now by two suburban residents keeping an especially close eye on today's results. Setti Warren is the mayor of nearby Newton, and David Luberoff is a senior project advisor to the Boston Area Research Initiative at Radcliffe. And Setti Warren, I should say, you won your preliminary last week, so you're in a runoff in November. So do you both have Boston voter envy? Do you wish you could vote in this?
Not particularly,
no.
Being that I have my own race.
Yeah.
But this race is important. It's extremely important to the city of Newton as well as the surrounding community.
What are the biggest issues for you, contiguous to Boston? What's the most important thing?
Well, I think there are a few things. First of all, there's the economy. 1 in 6 jobs based in Massachusetts are out of Boston. 1 in 14 jobs are based out of New England are based in Boston. A lot of our residents work in the science industry, the financial industry, and they commute back and forth. So it's incredibly important, the policies that are set from an economic standpoint and a transportation standpoint as well in the city of Boston. That's why this race is so important.
David, you're an expert in transportation issues, and I think Setti Warren just struck on it. I mean, 1.5 million people coming into the city every day. It doubles the population of Boston every single work day. And all these issues that affect the commuters and the shoppers, and it matters profoundly. I think some people are paying attention more than others, but you wonder if they realize that this, the
I mean, it's an interesting challenge for the mayor of Boston, because the mayor of Boston doesn't actually control either the significant roadways or the T, but clearly is impacted greatly and needs to figure out how to be a spokesperson for the transportation system in a political, historic political dynamic where Boston can't be completely leading, but needs to be, I assume, part of a coalition with, the other kind of inner core mayors, the mayors of Newton and Somerville, Revere, et cetera. So it's an incredibly important position, and I think in terms of setting a tone around transportation and a variety of other issues.
One of the big things, I think, for people coming, since I lived in Newton, I know this, that I used to come in almost every single day for either a business meeting, a conference, a charity event, a restaurant, an event, like something at Symphony or Marathon, those kinds of things. These are profoundly important to residents who enjoy the city for the cultural. I mean, as you know, Boston brings in something like $1 billion a year just in culture. And making those events safe and easy to access for suburban residents is critical.
Well, we just saw, what happened during the terrorist attack during the marathon, the cooperation that needs to occur for public safety reasons, but also regionally. Right now around the country, mayors understand and are doing great jobs in being innovative and connecting with other communities to promote their region and not just their city. We've seen this from an economic standpoint, and we've also seen it through providing certain types of services. So I'm looking forward to working with the next mayor of Boston and other mayors and communities around to expand services that provide to veterans. Perhaps also the area of the economy. We can promote this region from a tech standpoint. We're working with the town of Needham right now to do that. So there are areas where we can cooperate, promote culture, arts, economic activity, as well as ensure that we have public safety measures in place when we do those things.
There's another more subtle issue here, which is an environmental issue. Whether you're worried about suburban sprawl or climate change, in both cases, the more people are living and working in cities in denser settings are policies that are going to mitigate sprawl and hopefully get our hands around climate change. But people aren't going to either live or work in cities if they don't believe they're safe. So it's not only, am I safe going to Symphony Hall or Fenway Park, but can I live in Dorchester or Roxbury, and am I going to be safe? Is it going to be a pleasant place? Are the schools going to work for my kids? So those of us who are also worried about a set of environmental issues have a great stake in what happens in this election.
I would add, Hubway is an example of the regional connection. We in Newton are looking forward to connecting with Brookline and Boston to promote bikeability. We have a lot of residents that actually use their bike to go into town and work and come back. The safer we can make our roads and the connectivity we can strengthen, the better off we'll be in reducing the carbon footprint, getting people out of their cars. So that's another regional example, an example of regionalization that we can certainly work with the city of Boston.
Not that the suburbs speak with a unified voice, because there's 351 of them, but are there candidates, you think, that are more in line with these kind of innovative, and I'm talking about literally technological advances and everything else, that would be more inviting, do you think?
Well, I have a lot of friends in the race, and I've been paying attention. The good news is that I've heard from really most of the candidates the importance of innovation, connectivity, using technology, and reducing the carbon footprint to do all those things. I've heard them all speak to that in various ways. So I would say I'm excited about the prospects for the next mayor.
I think it's striking, even the candidates who look like and sound like the most traditional sort of Boston ethnic politicians are talking that language of innovation. And if you think about Tom Menino, not somebody we would have thought 20 years ago who would have been out on the leading edge of things like Hubway, finding that you have to do that because you've got to deliver the services in a time when you really have limited resources. I mean, Setti's right. Mayors, in many respects, are where the action is at. And the mayor of Boston, I think, does have an ability to set a tone for some of the things that government can do. And then the mayor of Newton probably stands up and says, well, if Boston's doing that, we can do it even better. So it creates a sort of healthy competition, I suspect.
As a mayor yourself, I'm curious, after having been, Mayor Menino's been in 20 years, we expect the mayor of Boston to be this kind of like almost bully pulpit, powerful, but that's not necessarily true. It's like being a new senator. The two senators we have in the state now don't have the same kind of clout. Will the new mayor of Boston have the same kind of clout that Mayor Menino did?
I think it's how one uses the office, and I think that we have candidates in this race that I truly believe have the potential to lead the capital city. So I'm excited about it. I think you grow into the job. I think a chief executive understands that they have to figure out how to use the bully pulpit appropriately. And I think that we'll see growth in whoever wins this evening. I think there's a lot of potential there.
Anybody making any bets? David?
No.
I will leave that to the political prognosticators from the previous segment.
Yeah, we already went over the
Yes.
the line there a little bit well, we don't know. Well, I should make that very clear. None of us know. We don't have any inside data at all. There are no exit polls, so nobody has any clue. Just all anecdotal. Anyway, Setti Warren, thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
And David Luberoff, thanks for coming.